Dragon Queen, Chapter 12, Hidden Village. Mommy! Mommy! A young Aelwyn pit-pattered her way down the castle hallway, coming to a stop at the open doorway of her mother's office. She gave a wide grin, holding up a piece of paper covered in all types of scribblings. Queen Lyriel looked up from her great oaken desk. Her hair's golden curls shimmered in the dim light emanating from the ball of magic before her. She waved a delicate hand in the air, motioning for Aelwyn to step inside.
"Hello, Aelwyn. What do you have for me today?"
She gave a smile to her daughter in return. The little princess strode into the room, almost tripping on her long green dress, and proudly handed the paper over to Lyriel. "It's another picture I made," she pointed at a crudely drawn kitsune. "That's Kia." Then she moved her finger to a stick figure covered in green and brown. "And that's me." Lyriel chuckled and took a closer look at the paper.
"That looks very nice. I like the colors. I see you and the fox have gotten along well."
"Yeah, she might be new here, but I already told her she's my best friend. We decided to draw each other. Oh, and Mom, she can draw with a floating pencil." She lifted it with her magic and drew with it. She says it's because she doesn't have hands. I told her that's really amazing, but she just said she wanted hands. So then I told her that having a magic floaty powers were better than hands, but she says she doesn't think so, so then we got in a fight. Aelwyn tapped her chin. It turned out okay, though. We agreed that it would be most amazing if a person had hands and magic floaty powers.
"I see. Good thing I have both, then."
Lyriel waved a wand she held in her other hand, causing the paper to float upwards. A frame of magic appeared around it, and it was secured to the wall. "Wow," Aelwyn said in awe.
"There, now I can look at it every day."
Lyriel looked back at her daughter.
"Anything else you want to tell me?"
"Oh, wait. I need the picture back." Aelwyn hopped up and down. "Please, there's something on the back I have to show you." Lyriel shook her head and smiled, taking the picture back down and floating it into her daughter's hands. Aelwyn turned it over. On the back, a black piece of paper was glued, upon which was drawn a deer in white-colored pencil. Lyriel froze. I had put black paper on the back since my white pencil wouldn't work on the white paper. Anyway, I heard Daddy sing a beautiful song today while he was walking in the garden. It was about a pretty white deer with floaty horns who was very nice and loved everyone. I decided to draw her. A strange expression crossed Lyriel's face. Her voice lowered.
"You say your father sang it?"
Aelwyn nodded, confused. "Yeah, it was nice. By the way, why don't you sing for me anymore, Mommy?" Lyriel gripped the paper tightly, causing the edge to wrinkle.
"What do you mean?"
"You used to sing me songs at bedtime, I think," Aelwyn said, cocking her head to the side. "It's a little hard to remember, but I know you used to. Why don't you do that anymore?" The strange expression crossed Lyriel's face once again, this time making Aelwyn even more confused.
"I see."
Lyriel got up, taking the wrinkled picture with her. She strode out of the room, her purple dress swishing elegantly around her long legs as she took precise steps. "Mommy, where are you going?" Aelwyn trailed behind her.
"Go back and play with your fox friend. Daddy and I need to talk."
She pursed her lips, eyes narrowing. Aelwyn stood still, watching as Queen Lyriel marched away. "Mommy, you didn't answer my question," she whispered out of earshot. "Land there! We're here!" Gerald said as he pointed down at a large waterfall tucked between gargantuan redwood trees. Aelwyn nodded, slowing down and coming into a bumpy landing before it. Gerald gave a big sigh, using a small knife to cut off the securing rope. He gazed at the waterfall, uncertainty clouding his eyes. He patted Aelwyn's neck. "All right, go into the waterfall." Aelwyn looked back at him. "What? Why? Your village couldn't be in there. It looks like it's just a small cave." "Hey, trust me, okay?" Aelwyn shrugged and strode under the water, which Gerald shielded them both from with magic. Just as Aelwyn had predicted, there was only a small area there, barely big enough for her to stand in. A pair of deer horns were stuck into the back wall. She looked back at Gerald with a raised eye crest. Gerald didn't look back. Rather, he rummaged around in his pack and pulled out an instrument case decorated with soft swirls and carved dragon heads. He opened it to reveal a blue-green colored violin. Aelwyn's eyes widened in interest. Gerald touched the delicate strings, almost as if he were afraid they would break. He plucked a matching bow from the case with the tips of his fingers, Carefully, he rubbed it with a block of resin, as well as tuning the violin as he prepared it for play. Then, he lifted the violin to his cheek, resting it on his shoulder. He looked downward, his eyes misted over. "Gerald?" Aylwin moved her head closer to his. "What's wrong?" He wiped his face with his sleeve and looked up at her. Tears pricked at his eyes. Neither of them said anything. Gerald brought the bow down upon the strings and began to play. The sounds of a haunting waltz came from the instrument. Aylwin closed her eyes and listened. It was uncanny, really. She felt like she had heard it before, but couldn't quite pin down where. It reminded her of her mother, or maybe her father. "Yes, this sounds like something Father would play on his piano," she smiled, "to wake me in the morning." The waterfall crashed down on the small river below, flecks of foam sprinkling onto Aylwin's tail. The music reverberated around the cave. Aylwin found herself humming along with the tune once she had identified it. It was soft and warm, but had an element of sadness to it, as if touched by despair in its lower notes. Gerald stopped playing suddenly. He looked at the back of the waterfall as if expecting something. Footsteps sounded. Aylwin recoiled in surprise as a dark figure stepped into the cave. "Who is this?" Aylwin thought, her head whipping from Gerald to the intruder. Gerald was looking away, covering his face with his hand. Aylwin spoke through her teeth. "Gerald, what are you—" "Who the hell are you?" the figure boomed, earning Aylwin's full attention. The intruder was a tall, lean woman. She wielded a wicked-looking axe on a long handle, which she pointed directly at Aylwin's face. Her hair was styled bizarrely, pairs of long braids gracing either side of her neck, while a big mohawk stuck out from above her forehead. She wore multiple different kinds of earrings, a nose piercing, and her belt was decorated with the large teeth of varying animals. She wore large boots and tight-fitting pants, together with a tunic with its sleeves torn off. But the strangest thing about her were her eyes. They had the same almond shape and brown coloring as Gerald's. Her ears were weird as well, long and pointed like an animal's. "Well, tell me, who are you?" the woman sneered. Her body was in a warlike stance, and despite the large dragon in front of her, she didn't look the least bit afraid. "Aylwin! My name is Aylwin!" "And what are you doing here?" The shiny axe reflected off of Aylwin's wide eyes. "I have come with Gerald to meet your people. I was turned into a dragon and wish to become human again." "Who the hell is Gerald?" Gerald peeked at the woman between open fingers. The axe slipped from the woman's hands, the clattering noise echoing through the small cave. Her jaw dropped as she gazed at Gerald. "Katuya?" she said in bewilderment. Hi, Kara." Gerald shrunk back, giving a nervous wave. The woman rushed towards him, her face contorted in anger. Gerald gave a scream before he was wrapped in a huge bear hug. He pushed at her, but she was practically solid stone. "Oh my God, where have you been?" she yelled, gripping his shoulders and looking him square in the face. Her cheeks were beet red with rage. "We've all been worried sick, you little piece of—" I'm sorry, Gerald screeched. "You stole my crossbow!" "I know, I needed it! You made Mom cry! I didn't mean—" "Like hell you didn't!" She grabbed his wrist and twisted it downward, forcing Gerald off Aylwin's back. He screamed in protest, but Kara didn't listen, simply dragging him out from behind the waterfall and out of sight. Aylwin blinked. What in the name of all that is holy? She stood in silence for a bit, too shocked to really do anything. She hesitantly stepped into the waterfall and peeked out, gasping. The clearing beyond the fall definitely didn't look like how it had originally. Giant, colorful tents filled the area, some using the large redwoods as their central supports. Tiny glass balls were strung along them and filled with all kinds of things. Magical lights illuminated well-kept gardens and wooden stairs leading to tent houses set up in the branches above. People of the same race as Gerald and Kara were scattered about, some cooking, others cleaning, and a few sparring with each other. Actual living fairies were flying about, talking with a few of the people and flitting up into the trees. An old male sphinx lay sleeping on a porch as kids played with his gray mane. It can't be. Aylwin's heart dropped as she saw, flying above the village and striding confidently through its pathways, were dragons. A lot of dragons, peacefully interacting with the humans as if nothing were wrong. Aylwin spotted Gerald being dragged along by his furious sister to the biggest tent in the center of the encampment. They disappeared inside, along with several curious onlookers. The people began to take notice of Aylwin, pointing and staring at the strange visitor. Éowyn froze. Soon the whole village was looking at her while whispering to one another. They began to approach her, and Éowyn got very nervous, especially without Gerald around to guide her. "Hello?" she said, giving a hesitant grin. I'm Princess Éowyn, and I was turned into a dragon by a sorceress. I need help to become human again." She trailed off as Kara burst open the tent, looking directly at her. She held up a hand, motioning Éowyn to follow her. Éowyn gulped and did as ordered. Kara led her to a small tent near the waterfall and told her to stay there for the time being. Éowyn gave a curt nod and sat on the packed dirt as Kara left. The walls of the tent were covered in illustrations and writing, all of which were baking recipes of all things. The containers of food in stone ovens led Éowyn to believe this was a kitchen. She sat in silence for a while before getting up and pacing nervously. "What is going on out there?" she thought. Her wings aching and body tired from the journey, Éowyn almost fell asleep before the tent was once again burst open by Kara. Unlike before, her expression was now one of concern and... "Is she looking at me with fear?" Éowyn thought. Surely not. Why would she have not been afraid before, but terrified now? She followed Kara into the big tent. Just like the previous, the walls were lined with painted illustrations and words. However, these were bursting with color and life, gold leaf paint and bright red brushstrokes making the depicted characters feel like they were alive. Dragons and people alike danced and fought along the walls, like a great story unfolding. However, Éowyn didn't get much of a chance to look at them all before her attention was directed toward the back center of the room, where Gerald lay on a bed flanked by an older woman and man. Dozens of other people crowded around them as they watched the woman delicately work the last stitches on Gerald's leg wound. She slathered it with purple jelly before wrapping it up with clean red silk bandages. Gerald looked up at Éowyn, as did the rest of the crowd. Éowyn's eyes darted around the room, taking in the many black-haired, almond-dyed heads gazing directly at her. "Princess Éowyn," a deep voice rumbled. It came from the man who sat at Gerald's bedside. His hair was peppered with gray, and a thin piece of red silk covered his eyes. A walking cane was clasped in his hands. "The daughter of Queen Lyriel," the woman continued. Her long black hair framed her elegant face beautifully, her angled features looking similar to those of Kara. Upon her pink-robed lap sat a variety of medical tools. At the mention of Lyriel's name, the crowd took a collective gasp. Whispers traveled from person to person. "Gerald told us your story," the man said, "and we have decided to help you." Éowyn's ears perked up. "You'll help me turn back to human?" she asked excitedly. The man gave the wizened smile of one who knows a lot more than he lets on. "Yes, we wish to help you with all of the plights that plague your mind, even those you may not even realize exist." Éowyn cocked her head. "What do you mean?" The woman lovingly took Gerald's hand, who looked up at her and smiled tiredly. "The country is in shambles," she said. "The war between dragons and humans has arisen once again, and threatens to destroy much of humanity. Our scouts have told us this much." "Once again? You mean this has happened before?" Éowyn asked. The man nodded. You were raised in a sheltered home, made ignorant to the plights of the world by your mother." He said the last word strangely, as if it left a rotten taste in his mouth. Éowyn's eyes narrowed. "Not this again. Why do they hate her so much?" "We strongly appreciate your courage to come here with our son," the woman said. "And we will help you beyond what you were expecting. We wish to end the war, and will help you to do so." The man gripped Gerald's other hand. "But most of all, we wish to thank you for bringing our son home. Without you, he may have been gone far longer." Gerald blushed and looked away in shame. "You can help me win the war." Éowyn shook her head in bewilderment. "How is that even possible? This village is so small, and I have no army." The man stood up. "First, we must turn you back to the form you desire. To do so, I will take you to meet the gardener. She will speak with you and reveal what you need to know, as well as change you back." Several people in the crowd smiled. A few gave grinning looks at each other. "The gardener?" Éowyn stepped forward. The woman smiled, a faraway look in her eyes. "Yes, she will explain everything. We have only to take you to her." "And how do I get to her?" Éowyn sighed, not wanting to take yet another journey. The man stood before Éowyn and placed a hand on her forehead. "Like this." The world around Aelwyn snapped into whiteness, and she collapsed onto the ground, eyes rolled back into her head.